This is TWiT.
Google Stadia is making quite a bit of noise, if you will. We have our nice little beautiful box here, but I can't say that everybody's been so excited about this new gaming service for Google. What are your? I'm not letting you hold this.
Gimme.
No. What are your thoughts on it? I know you've been online and seen quite a few passionate discussions, if you will, about Google's new gaming services.
I think Stadia would be great if what we got was the stuff that got announced earlier this year at GDC. But that's not what happened. As it turns out, the mission that we got on stage at GDC, how it was going to be this fantastic service with all of these incredible features, including being able to share your game state with someone in such that a way that they would be able to just sort of hop in and play with you at some point. A lot of those features don't exist yet, and the answer for why they don't exist yet from the Stadia team is that this is meant to be living software, that it is improved on a weekly basis in the same cadence that Google Chrome is updated, which sounds really exciting to have something that is just kind of constantly getting new features and improving and getting better. But it helps to sell that from the beginning and not the day that you launch it. Now, after having promised a lot of other features.
This living software quote, is that code for beta?
Oh, it's absolutely what it feels like. This is something, there are just a lot of things about this that don't feel fully baked. For example, you can play with your controller hooked up to your Chromecast wirelessly, but you cannot play the same way hooked up to your phone. If you want to play Stadia on your phone, you need a cable that connects from the USB Type-C port on the controller to the USB Type-C port on a Pixel 3 or Pixel 3a or Pixel 4.
Because gamers love wires, right?
Because gamers are really excited about wires. And to make things a little more curious, there is a cable in the box for the Stadia kit that you're holding. That cable is a USB Type-C to USB Type-A.
What? So I can't even use this for the system.
And the cable that comes in the box does not connect to the phone in order to play Stadia. Really kind of curious.
Now, I'm so this only the thing that I was curious about this. The Stadia system currently only works with Pixel devices, right?
It works with Pixel devices or
Chromecast.
The Chromecast Ultra, specifically the Chromecast Ultra.
Only the one.
And even more specifically, only the Chromecast Ultra that comes in the box with the Founders Kit for now.
You're kidding.
No, I didn't know that detail. I thought it was any Chromecast Ultra.
There is going to be a firmware update very soon that will roll out to all of the Chromecast Ultras in order to make it so that they are all Stadia compliant. As of right now, my Chromecast Ultra, which is connected to the television in my living room, does not work with Stadia.
So did they just roll this out too soon? What happened here?
That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like there was an arbitrary deadline, and it feels like they rushed to get that deadline out before the holiday, and then a lot of stuff just didn't fall into place. The week before Stadia was official, they made this game announcement of all the games that were going to be available on Stadia, and it was 12 titles, which is a little underwhelming when you consider some of the competition that's available today. But they were good titles, including some of the things we had seen from early beta. So it wasn't a bad thing. It was just a little on the light side. And before the official launch happened, the response was so negative that the people from Stadia made a separate announcement just yesterday, or the day before yesterday, that increased that number of launch titles to 22. Now, a lot of the other games that got added are a little less noteworthy, rather,
right.
in their importance. But it's kind of indicative of how it feels like this organization is kind of moving in these occasional sprints instead of releasing kind of polished things, in time.
Now, we talked a little bit about this on This Week in Google yesterday, but I wanted to ask you, who is Google targeting with this particular product? You have your extreme hardcore gamers, you have those gamers that are sort of middle of the road, and then you have those gamers like me that can barely play Candy Crush.
Hey, that's me too.
So here's the more that I think about Stadia, the more that I feel like it is that kind of middle of the road gamer, but more importantly, it is the middle of the road gamer who just does not have time to maintain a full game console. One of the most common things that I see, kind of being steeped in the game world every single day is when a great big new game comes out, the frustration attached to installing and maintaining that game. For example, Red Dead Redemption 2 just came out. It was over 100 gigabytes to install on a PC. And then when it installed, it didn't work on a lot of PCs. The launch was actually just fraught with errors, and it took a lot of work in order to get a lot of systems up and running. It was a mess. Stadia would never have any of those problems because it's a cloud instance. You don't have to worry about an install time. You don't have to worry about any kind of maintenance on your computer to make sure that it's running. You can sit down on your couch after a hard day's work and go, I want to play that game. And it unlocks at 11:59 tonight. So I'm just going to push a button, and at 11:59, the game is just available to play. All of your things are saved in the cloud. All of your game data can move from one system to another. So if you decide that you want to play somewhere else, you can. And that, I feel like, is the goal. It is not so much approaching a specific class of gamer, not like it's not a question of the hardcore gamer versus the simplistic simple gamer. Okay. It's the zero friction gamer. It's the person who just wants to sit down and play, who doesn't want to go through a lot of work to maintain the game, who doesn't feel like they should have to sit for 4 hours while their broadband connection downloads 100 gigabytes to play the game. It's that instant gratification, zero friction experience is what Stadia targets. And I feel like once they get it off the ground, it'll do that really well.
Our technical director found this article while we've been talking about how apparently there are some Chromecast Ultra units that are part of this system that while you're playing are overheating and shutting down. Oh, yeah. Yep. So what's going on there? The reason I ask is because I thought that the whole point was that the 62 teraflops of processing power were all happening on the other side of things, not on the Chromecast dongle itself. So why do I have a little mini pancake maker connected to my HD TV?
Yeah, so the HD TV is still streaming, the actual, data, transferring that 4K content and in this case, actually streaming not only the 4K content, but also transmitting the content from the controller in this kind of sync. And the Chromecast Ultra is a really powerful little hockey puck that plugs into the back of your television, but it's actually never done this level of work before. And so this is kind of a unique level of push from this device to begin with. And I think it's difficult to track down exactly what's happening here because it's not something we've been able to recreate through any of our testing. And the people at Google are trying to figure out exactly what's going on to see what could be happening here. But one of the suspicions that we've been working on is it actually is associated with people who are playing the game system when connected to Ethernet. Instead of a truly wireless system, which is actually something that Stadia recommends, that you use an Ethernet cable connected to your Chromecast Ultra to get the best possible connection. But in doing so, you're increasing dramatically the kind of data throughput and processing that's happening locally on that system. And I think that could be part of what's contributing to this. But we don't have enough information to be sure yet.
Yeah, and see, you said frictionless for the gaming standpoint. And that doesn't sound frictionless to me because number one, you're having to plug in an Ethernet cable regardless of wherever your network infrastructure is set up in your house. Number two, you're paying for 4K quality and everybody's not going to be able to get that, whether it's their own home internal network isn't up to snuff or Google's infrastructure just isn't ready for that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what this comes down to is the promise of Stadia is this kind of frictionless experience. And it's clear from the launch that they're just not there yet. There's a lot of kind of individual hurdles here that are still being sorted out in order to reach, that point. It is close enough, I think, for some people. But that's the problem, right? You can't call it frictionless if it only works well for tech savvy people. That's the opposite of frictionless. Boom. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Is if you're kind of a techie person who wants to be on the bleeding edge of something new, then you could be very excited about Stadia. But that's not supposed to be the intended audience here.
Now, does this mean so? I think I saw you in a hero image for an article that was posted on Android Central talking about, and let me see if I can't find it while I'm talking here. Essentially that despite the fact that it's got some early hangups, we can't count out Google Stadia so quickly. And this is kind of the big concern here. Despite the fact that we've got early issues with this system, I love the idea. What is it? xCloud, I think, is Microsoft's version. Yep. Mm-hmm. I love the idea of, like you're talking about, this frictionless gaming experience. I'm not a gamer in the slightest. I don't I think I have maybe 2 video games on my phone. But for the folks who do like to just, the idea of being able to be on the subway or the BART system, I don't know what it's called, and you're playing a game, and then you can come home and sit in front of your big TV and play that game. I think that's fantastic. And you're synced right to the exact place you were, whether you're on mobile data or you're on Wi-Fi or you're on the new 5Gs of LTEW.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is, you can still game. And I think that is a great idea. So can we talk about what are the positives that you've seen from this platform and sort of what is the promise for the future, so to speak, other than the beautiful controller and its little pops of color? I love Google's pops of color.
I do want to take a second and admire the hardware team responsible for the controller, because not only are they beautiful, I see that you've got the blue one. I actually went for what they call the wasabi color, and it's got those kind of like bright color underneath, and I dig this a lot.
I like how it feels too.
It feels great, and when you actually go to use it, Mikah, there's actually some really dramatic vibration inside the controller.
No way.
It's very, very good. The haptic feedback, I think, is actually probably my favorite of any controller that I've used recently.
Oh, I have to try this now because I'm a sucker for haptic feedback.
Yeah, so that I think like when you first turn this thing on, you'll really like the way that it feels to go and use. And that's the thing, is that like there are a lot of individual spots of promise here. They've thought through a couple of things that are really fascinating. The first thing that they've thought through is the way that you go and connect it to a Chromecast in very much the same way that someone can just kind of play something to an Apple TV. You can do the same thing to a Chromecast from anything that's on that network. That causes a problem when you are playing a game and someone accidentally pushes the wrong button and sends something to the TV that you're playing on. Then all of a sudden you're not playing your game anymore. The Stadia system is actually aware of this being a possibility and will freeze your game state for up to 15 minutes so that you can quickly either move to another television or connect your phone or do something like that. The game that you're playing in the cloud actually stays paused for up to 15 minutes so that you can quickly come back and do the thing that you were doing. And I think that from a technical perspective, that's actually really impressive to be aware enough that that is happening and make sure that it doesn't completely mess up your game in progress. I think that's a really important thing to have. And along those same lines, we know that the Stadia team is working with several different teams on accessibility features that are not just individual title accessibility features, but are actually designed to be a platform layer for accessibility. So when these accessibility features, it is important to point out that they are not available yet, and they have not fully described what they are. But Stadia's goal is to make the accessibility parts of its platform something that reach every single game that is on the platform and not just individual titles.
Now I look forward to seeing that.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm really happy with the way that Stadia seems to be approaching the platform as a whole. It would be really nice if those things were available at launch. But that's kind of the thing, is that they have this detailed roadmap that has kind of individual weeks in a very Chrome style release structure, where people who are invested in this platform are going to see it not just improve over time, but improve rapidly over time. And so it's hard to, as a general rule, I review something based on what's in front of me, not on what the promise of it is. And so it kind of makes it difficult for me to be excited and critical at the same time. But that's where I am. I'm the way that this is being described is something that I'm very eager to see play out. But what you have in front of you right now is kind of hard to recommend.